Do I matter in a universe of trillions of stars? I mean, it's a huge question, right? In the grand cosmic scale of things, amidst all those galaxies, does my life or your life really truly matter?
You know that feeling? It can be pretty overwhelming. You look up at the night sky, see all those stars, and suddenly you feel impossibly small, almost invisible. And that question just pops into your head. In a universe this big, does my tiny life even make a difference?
And this doubt, it often gets really specific, really personal. Someone once framed it perfectly. Will the owner of the universe, this vast, sprawling reality, really stop and care about the drink in my hand? Think about that. The drink in my hand. And you know what? The logic behind this feeling, it's pretty compelling, at least at first. The argument goes something like this. Look, I've got ants in my house. I don't keep tabs on every single one, right? I'm not tracking what it eats, what it drinks, or if it's doing its ant duties or whatever. So if I'm even smaller to the universe than that ant is to me, why on earth would God be tracking my every move? This kind of thinking doesn't always lead to straight-up atheism. Often, it leads to something else, a kind of spiritual B-plan. It's for people who look at the sheer complexity of the universe and think, okay, there has to be a creator. But they just can't get behind the idea of a personal God who's involved. And that's basically deism. The idea of a cosmic watchmaker who built this amazing universe, wound it up, and then just stepped back to let it run on its own. So, how do we even begin to tackle a doubt this big? Well, the source material argues that the whole premise is flawed from the get-go. We're asking the wrong question entirely. It's not about our size, it's about our purpose. Let's dive into what that really means. Okay, and this slide just lays it out so clearly. The whole ant in the house argument makes a huge mistake. It confuses our physical body, our system, with our assigned purpose, our Wazife. Physically? Yeah, we're basically nothing. The source has this incredible line that our body is less valuable than meat in a butcher shop. Ouch. But our purpose, our Wazife, that's immense. It's even framed as the very reason the universe exists. But purpose can feel a little abstract, right? So to make this idea really hit home, this source gives us two incredible analogies that just flip the whole script on our sense of scale and importance. Let's start with the first one, which puts you in a position of incredible power.
All right, I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself as the captain of a massive, precious ship. This isn't just some little sailboat, it's a huge vessel carrying cargo of immeasurable value. And you, and only you, are at the helm.
So on this giant ship, packed with priceless stuff and a whole crew of people, who's the most important person on board? Is it the biggest piece of cargo, the strongest crew member? No way. It's the captain. Physically, the captain is tiny compared to the whole ship, right? But their purpose, their responsibility, that's bigger than the ship itself. The ship's entire fate rests squarely on their shoulders. Okay, so that's the first analogy about external responsibility. The second one shifts the focus inward to our internal potential. This one says that each of us is like a tiny seed. It might look small, totally insignificant, but inside it holds the complete blueprint for a magnificent fruit-bearing tree. So how does the seed become a tree? Well, it's laid out as a simple three-step process. First, we are all given these divine seeds, which are manifestations of God's attributes, or esma. Second, we have to plant these seeds in what's called the soil of servitude, basically through our actions, our choices, our intentions. And then finally, if we tend to them, these seeds grow into something amazing, a unique tree whose fruits can actually benefit others. All right, so we're captains, we're seeds, this is all great, but what does it mean? Like, what are we actually supposed to do? What's the mission? Well, the source boils it down to a really clear two-part job description. So our main purpose, our Wazife, has two parts. The first part is to read. This means looking at the universe around us and really seeing the divine attributes on display everywhere. Think about the mercy in the rain that gives life, or the incredible power you see in a thunderstorm. That's step one. And step two, it's to reflect. We're supposed to become a living, breathing mirror of those very same attributes in our own lives. And what does reflecting actually look like in the real world? It's pretty straightforward. You see generosity in the universe, so you practice being charitable. You see purity, you work on your own physical and spiritual cleanliness. You witness mercy, so you become more forgiving and compassionate. You see justice, and you stand up for what's right and oppose oppression. See how it works? Our small individual actions start to mirror the vast, beautiful attributes of the entire cosmos. Okay, now let's get a little more personal, because this whole framework has a fascinating take on a feeling I think we've all had. That nagging guilt, that restlessness you feel when you know you're just not living up to who you could be. Seriously, think about it for a second. Have you ever had that feeling, that inner turmoil when you've been lazy, or maybe you were unkind to someone, or you just kept putting off the things you know you should be doing? That sense that something is just off. Well, according to this perspective, that feeling isn't a punishment at all. In fact, it's a sign of profound care. It's basically a spiritual check engine light. It's a signal from the Creator saying, hey, you're drifting off course here. It's a call to get back to the helm and take your vital role as captain seriously again. And this leads to a really powerful idea from the source. It says this inner turmoil is actually one of the greatest gifts you can get. Why? Because it means God hasn't given up on you. It's proof that you're still seen, that you're still cared for, and that your purpose is still absolutely essential. Okay, so this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it can be the most challenging part to think about. If our role is this important, it stands to reason that the consequences, both good and bad, have to be just as immense. I mean, it just makes sense, right? With great responsibility comes, well, high stakes. The reward for doing a great job and the penalty for messing up have to be on the same scale as the job itself. Let's bring it back to that ship one more time. Think about the janitor on board. If they don't clean the decks properly, what's the consequence? Maybe they get a warning, maybe they get fired. It's not great, but it's contained. But what happens if the captain fails? If they don't steer the ship safely? It's a total catastrophe for everyone. The consequences perfectly match the importance of the role. And this is exactly the logic used to explain why human beings are offered something as incredible as paradise, but also warned of something as terrifying as hell. It's not supposed to be arbitrary. It's a direct reflection of just how important our role is. The stakes are that high because our job, as the captain in charge of reflecting these divine attributes, is just that significant. And that brings us to the final, crucial point. For someone who has this vital a purpose, the biggest failure isn't even steering the ship in the wrong direction. The biggest crime of all is doing nothing. It's abandoning your post, letting go of the helm that's been placed right there in your hands. So, that leaves us with one last question to really think about. You are not an insignificant ant. You're a captain. The real question is, what is the helm in your hands? And right now, in this very moment, where are you steering your ship?